Hey,
not live. We're live. Just busy talking about Janine's lovely new garden and her woodland. Very exciting today. Janine's coming from a different part of the world, aren't you, Janine?
Yes.
A conservatory.
From a conservatory.
Beautiful. Amazing. That's the way to be, isn't it? We all need conservatories.
Yeah, well, apparently.
I was just saying, I'd like to do it from the garden. I was just kind of thinking, would the outdoor elements sort of like mess up the microphones? I don't know. We'll test it out one time. Let's all do it from the garden one week. But it's just the three of us today, isn't it?
That's beautiful.
That's okay. That's beautiful. Sometimes we get a bit carried away when we have 5 or 6 people and it gets a bit unruly. So today we can just be nice and calm and all get a chance to speak. Whew, recenter. So we were going to talk about the importance of kind of like market research and competitor research and customer research and all those things that are really important to do before you start spending money on marketing, because I'm sure, ladies, you have seen the same thing as me. I did a post this week about how so many people are wasting so much money on marketing tactics and just things that aren't generating ROI. And often it's because we haven't done that really important piece beforehand. What do you think, ladies?
I think I always get my clients to do a bit of market research, and I sort of view it as marketing in a way anyway, because when you're putting stuff out there and you're asking people questions, they start going, oh, what is it that you do then? Like, how could I work with you? And you can kind of, it's almost like an in to start that conversation with people. I'm slightly echoey. I don't know if I'm echoey to you, but so yeah, it's worthwhile doing, but it's almost like it's marketing in a way anyway, because you're putting your head above the parapet. You're saying what you do. You're connecting with people. You're asking for their opinion. You can start collecting email addresses and say at the end of that research, if you wanted to chat more about how I can help you. So I think it's a really kind of soft in to start those one-to-one conversations happening. And every time me or my clients do that piece of market research, we get clients off the back of it.
Good client acquisition strategy then.
Yeah.
A cheeky one. It's not a cheeky one, is it? But I know what you mean. Like when you do a survey, then you say at the end, is this something you might be interested in getting help with?
Yeah.
You've got those people who are already warm, who already know, like, and trust you to a point because they've bothered to spend the time to do a survey.
Yeah. And everybody wants to know that their opinion is valid, and that you're interested in them, and that you care about what they think. And so it starts a really nice kind of gentle two-way conversation. Everybody wants to feel that they're important. And so by asking people their opinions about things, you start to develop that relationship with people that you need, especially if you're a coach, maybe, but even if you're a product-based business, actually, asking people what they think is super important, isn't it? It makes them feel like they're part of the story and the journey. So I see it as marketing. I don't know. I don't see it as something separate, but it's definitely something you need to do at the beginning. But I think you can build it in like every 6 months.
Yeah, definitely.
Keep doing it. It's not like a one-hit wonder. Oh, I know all the answers now. It's almost like if you can kind of build that into your long-term strategy and keep connecting with people, you keep getting all that juicy information and those relationships with people.
Totally. I say do the SWOT. Ideally, do the SWOT every 3 months because, I love a SWOT.
And you love a SWOT.
I love a SWOT. I just like to keep doing it all the time. But it's amazing how much can change in 3 months, both like all the weaknesses that you've addressed, you've got new strengths, and there's new opportunities. And it's just important to keep reviewing those. But also, I think you're right. And I have said this to clients, just put it as a quarterly task that you go and speak to your customers or your clients. And Janine, you're like a massive fan of that, aren't you?
Yes, it's the enemy of all marketing and selling is assumptions. And you don't know when you're making them. I mean, the amount of clients I have and they say something and you're like, do you know that? Or is that just a preconception? Or is that based on your perception? Or, is that what your clients are actually thinking? Is that wording that your clients would actually use? And it's ever so hard to get yourself out of that mindset. And the only way to do it is to speak to people and keep those channels of communication open. So there's so many different ways you can do market research. But the general theme is just open your ears and be receptive and just be looking, even just seeing what your ideal clients are talking about and how they phrase things on social media. That's research. You don't, there is formal market research, and you can get people on a Zoom and record them, which is one of my favorite things to do. But also just keeping your ears open and going, oh, I'm in this Facebook group with loads of my ideal customers, and they seem to be struggling with this, and they're phrasing it like this, and I don't tend to talk about it like that. That's interesting. So just being curious and gathering that information is good.
And also on discovery calls as well, because and I suppose if you're selling services, obviously if you're selling products, it's different. But on a discovery call the other day, one of the clients said to me that they'd read something which totally resonated, which was about being confident that they could spend their funding wisely, and that they were going to spend their investment wisely. And so I think, that's it's research all the time, isn't it? It's on your discovery call. So like when I run webinars and masterclasses, I quite often say, what's your biggest challenge? And then, like you were saying, Janine, you can look at the wording that they use. You can look at the things that they're saying their biggest challenges are, what their big burning questions are, all of that kind of thing. So you've got someone saying, what do you think about skateboarding? That's that is a random question for Friday Marketing Live, Friday Marketing Show. My husband loves skateboarding, but I'm not a fan. But Emma is saying, hello, you lovely lot. Hello. Not Emma, Kennedy. Anyway, it's Kennedy. It's one of the email marketing guys, isn't it? Yes, one of the good Good morning, everyone who's watching. So, it's amazing, isn't it? How just listening to our customers, and there's something I've got the quote somewhere that Mark Ritson says: do a 180, turn around, and look at the business from your customer point of view. Really listen to them. Really, listening is like one of the best tools that we've got, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like Janine said, God, I'm so echoey. If you're talking to people, they give you. Am I echoey to you too?
No, you're fine.
Okay, perfect. It's just me. So if you're talking to people, they give you these little nuggets, don't they? Like Janine said, they say it like that, which you can then put back into your marketing, or you can add into your blog posts, or you can put into your social media posts. And what you really want, when you've hit the sweet spot, when people that you're connecting with on social media in real life say, are you in my head? How did you know I was thinking that? Like, how did you know I got up this morning and thought that? And that's when you've hit that sweet spot. But you're only going to get there by listening and by talking to people and doing that market research and putting stuff out. One of my clients has just done a Facebook Live challenge, which is like, do a Facebook Live challenge, and that's great. But what she did at the beginning is she asked everybody a series of questions about how they were feeling, and then she's fed that back into the challenge. And it's almost like they don't realize that they've given her that information, because then they're like, oh, how did you know? And she's not said, because you told me. She's like, because I understand your pain points. But you get that kind of gasp moment from people. So that, like Janine said, always be listening. It's so important, because we can end up going down a road and thinking this is what's important to our customers, or this is what they're struggling with. And if it's just 5% off the trajectory, you can end up hitting all your messaging wrong, and people can just scroll past or walk past and not think that that's for them. So yeah, I'm a big fan of kind of listening.
Well, that's what.
Sorry, I had a point. One of my favorite. We're in a little bit of a delay. I'm just gonna forge ahead. One of my favorite.
Forge ahead, Janine.
One of my favorite things to talk about is selling people what they want, not what they need. And it's really hard to get out of your head. And you're thinking, I know what you need. This is what you need. Hello, people. And then you're in education mode. Wake up. You need this. You need this. You need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then you'll get this. And actually, they only want, this. I was doing it over here. It's too far. They want this.
What is that?
It's going downhill. It's an orange. It's my skateboard.
It's the juicy nugget, isn't it? It's the thing. It's the thing.
Yeah. And that is the emotional thing. It's the emotional benefit. It's not even the tangible thing. It's the emotional benefit. And really, you need to speak to somebody to understand what that is.
Yeah, so Janine, that's like saying all my clients just, and this, I was amazed by this. They all say, it's the confidence that they feel. They feel confident that they're going to spend their wisely. I never thought that I was selling someone confidence, but that's what they will want. I thought I was just giving them a strategy and a plan for growth. So is that what you're saying, just so that other people listening get the gist? Are you saying that that's what we should use in our messaging, how people are going to feel?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a widely known thing. I've seen it communicated a lot about how the buyer process is. You buy on emotion and then you back it up with logic. Even very logical seeming decisions, it's emotion first.
I worked with Janet Murray, who's like a big coachy social media lady, and she gave me the gift of a quote years ago that I always go back to, which is sell them what they want, give them what they need. So that kind of really goes to that what Janine was saying, isn't it? Is that we need to sell people what they want, and then we give them what they need, because we know that they need structure and a strategy and better time management and, I don't know, like a process in place and products that people want and good sales messages and all of that stuff. But actually what they want is a successful business that makes money, for example. And they're not really interested in all the how bits. They just want that kind of final endpoint where they're like, everything's solved. And I think the more that we listen to people, the more that we can understand like what that endpoint is, that nirvana, where they want to get to. And then we can start adding that in there and putting that into our messaging. And messaging is so important, isn't it? Because it's the difference between somebody sitting up and going, oh my God, they've hit the nail on the head, or just walking past you to the next person who's done that piece of work and has hit the nail on the head. And you might have the best services in the world, but if you're not connecting with people, they're not going to buy them. And then you're not making any money, and then you're poor, and then you're crying all the way to the bank. Like, that's no good, is it? So the more that we can listen and talk, and I don't know, even do like Facebook polls or LinkedIn polls, like they're great, aren't they? What do you think about this? Or what's the top number way that you do this? Like, there's so many routes to getting that information now. It's not just doing a Google form. There's so many different things you can do. Although I love a Google form. Who doesn't love a Google form?
I love a Google form. And Debbie, I was just going to say on a subject of Google forms, and I know we do this for Growth Collab as well, but every time I get a new client working with me, I get them to fill in a Google form, some feedback, some insights, some research, what they're expecting from me, what networks they're part of, basically for me to deliver a better service for them, but also better understand my clients. And I do so at the end as well. And there's so much information in there. You can hear the way they're talking, what their problems are, what they're struggling with, where they've been before to try and get content and all those kind of things. So a Google form is lovely and it's free. So I love a Google form.
We love a Google form. Yeah, I do the same thing. And one of the things I ask my clients on that form is like, what does success look like for you? Because then I know where they want to get to. And then you're kind of creating your content, or you're shifting it in a way that gets them where they want to go. And if you don't know where people want to go, how do you get them there? What's Helen's saying? She loves a Google form. Emmy taught me well. There you go, Emmy. See?
I know. I should get paid by Google for sort of promoting their products. I basically tell all my clients to use G Suite because it's the best. So yeah, maybe Google will come and ask to sponsor Friday Marketing Live. You never know. Friday Marketing Show. So we're just talking about cost. I mean, actually, the whole topic of sort of market research, competitor research, customer research, that's all huge, isn't it? And I think we'll have to cover those other ones in another day. But talking specifically about customer research, there's just so much we can do, isn't there? So much fantastic stuff. Listening to, what about product-based businesses, Janine? I know you're service-based business. Is it the same thing? People just get on the phone and...
Yeah, but all the same theory applies. I think for a product-based business, perhaps you're doing more of the research beforehand, before launch, because you do not, there's one thing to create a service and then launch it and nobody buys it, but to create a product and you've put all that development into it and all that research money and the, tooling up a factory, that kind of thing, that is big money potentially that you are pouring down the drain if it's wrong. But the same things apply, and to Debbie's point about what do they want? I mean, that goes the same for a product as for a service. So, somebody might say, I want to earn more money in my business, but why do they want to earn more money? Is it because they want to buy big yachts, or is it because they want to spend more time with their children? Or is it because they only want to work 1 day a week, but they still want to pay the mortgage and all the bills? Or is it, there's always something. If you keep asking, why is that? Why? And the same goes for products. But again, you might have done the research a bit earlier on. The positioning of your product could be very different, even though it's the same essential, it's filling the same essential need as something else, like a watch. I like a cheap and cheerful watch. In fact, I've just got a Fitbit now, because it's, I'm one of those idiots who likes to see how many steps they've done every day.
Monitor. It's constantly monitoring though.
One of my favorite things is when I'm going past a jeweler's is like, people spend how much on a watch? There's a reason for it. There's a reason. They want to express themselves, or they appreciate the beauty or the craftsmanship. I don't know. I don't understand.
It is the beauty and the craftsmanship. Like I love a Vogue, and the past 3 editions of Vogue, there's been 3 pages of watches. So that's 9 pages of watches dedicated in Vogue in the past quarter alone. So yeah, people buy things for all sorts of reasons, they don't they? And I find that fascinating. Like, it's not always based on price. Like, this is why people buy Audis as opposed to a Ford, because essentially they do the same thing. They get you up the motorway. They've got 4 wheels. They've got a stereo. But people buy things because of what it says about themselves. So products are really interesting, aren't they? Because I think sometimes when people go into product, they focus too much maybe on the price and where it sits in that competitive space. But actually, there's a whole heap of stuff about why people buy things and who your customers are and what that purchase says about them. And if you're creating a product, that can be something, even when the product's out, that you're constantly trying to tweak and get to that sweet spot, aren't you? Like, how does it position on the shelf, or what does the marketing of it say? I love the difference between shoes. If you read the descriptions of like Louboutin, it says something like, wear these shoes and you'll feel like you're in a palazzo palace, like amazing. And then if you look at like $6.99 shoes, it just says PVC upper. There's no drama in the description of a £6.99 pair of shoes, but Louboutin tells you this amazing story of how you're going to feel when you're wearing their Louboutins. So, products and services are really interesting, and there's a whole heap of stuff there. And I think the more you understand your customers and where you fit into that grand scheme of things, the more you can kind of hit that sweet spot. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it? Because there's such a variety of different tactics out there and things that you can do. And like Emmy's kind of getting to that point of, it's doing that market research at the beginning that means that you can fit your product or service really nicely into that vast space of stuff. Yeah, like Kennedy said, it's all about selling the emotions, because we buy things because we feel something about the brand or ourselves or the story that it tells about ourselves. And even when you're buying coaching and services, you're buying them based on yourself. You might not want to buy the cheapest coaching services because that might not make you feel like a very successful person. So you might want to spend the money just because it tells you a story about yourself. So the more that you can dig into that stuff and get to know the customers, the better able you are to fit your products and services in the right space that kind of meets them where they are. You kind of want this meeting in the middle thing, don't you?
Yeah, for sure. We're going to keep it short and sweet today because we need to keep it under 20 minutes. But let's quickly wrap up, and 20 seconds from each of us. I would say customer research, all kind of research, is critical to success. You must do it before you start spending any money. I have seen clients wasting hundreds of thousands of pounds. So that little bit of work, do it up front. Come along to Friday Marketing Show every week, and we'll be sharing lots more help on doing research. Janine, over to you.
Yes. Getting into your customer's head and getting into those emotions, as Kennedy said as well, is absolutely key, and it will really, really help you. I'm an expert on putting together offers that sell. I mean, that is number one. Who's your customer, and why would they want this thing? Get into the emotions of it.
Go on, Debbie. You've got a few seconds.
I feel like pressure. Yeah. Just get to know your customers. Do the research. Put the work in, I think, is the thing, isn't it? Put the work in, and don't ever feel that people don't want to hear from you and that they won't give you their opinions. They do, because everybody loves talking about themselves.
They love it. Right. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. See you, lovely ladies. We're off.
Bye.